Hi, so in this video I'm gonna share 3 different books that I'm going to be reading in the coming days ahead. I have now currently an assignment in project management and it's the final one in that course because I've been doing project management this summer. So I'm looking forward to submit the assignment and start with some new stuff. I'm also having to work this week with a project plan for my bachelor thesis to my second bachelor degree that I have this autumn, so I need to focus on that. So like last week I wasn't really studying because I took some time off and I did some other stuff. Also I'm doing quite a lot of workouts and stuff because I have some physical challenges and activities and tests and stuff ahead during this autumn of 2019. So I need to be kind of, fit. I need to really be, keep up my physical activity level. Also, I just want to point out something. Like nowadays, everyone has like a car. People are very inactive, they don't move, they sit too many hours a day, and that is a huge problem. Like my physical level, even if I'm trying to be active and sort of, move around, it's still nowhere near to what would have been considered the normal basis, like back in the days. Anyway, I'm gonna show 3 different books that I will be reading. And the first one I actually have been going over now in the afternoon. It's now it's like in the afternoon. So and this one is kind of dense. It's a lot of text and information in this one. But it wasn't that actually much to read because I have read some of this sort of information before, and I'm more like flipping through the pages and reading whatever I feel is relevant. And also it has really good rubrics, so whenever I'm flipping through the pages I just find whatever I find is interesting. So this book, as you can see, it is called Food Politics, How the Food Industry Influences Nutrition and Health. And this one is very, if you have no idea of how this is working, how the food industry is working, you should definitely look up this book. It is by Marion Nestle, and yeah, and it's published by California, University of California Press. So it is like academic work. But it's a really good book. It gives a lot of information. It talks about it talks about a lot of things, but basically how a lot of the dietary and nutritional advices that are published by different governments and different people and stuff, it can be quite a lot of information that is misleading, and it is connected to whatever incitament there is behind, like whatever reasons and aims certain industries have. And that can also make problems, because people take in a lot of information and then they adhering to it and they end up with some unbalanced diet or diseases or whatever, and it is a lot in connection to how these advices are handed out, and also the whole confusion that is sort of going on. Because if you think about the fact that there has been scientific research on nutrition and all these things for quite some time, but still there is like a confusion in what you should eat and how much and what is good, what is not. And it has still been so much research, and this whole confusion that is communicated to the public is actually a form of strategy, because when people don't know what they are supposed to eat, it's much easier to keep these recommendations, to change them out. and also depending on whatever the industry, that like the food producing industry want to earn money on. That's all what it comes down to. Because you can buy like cans of, let's say, tomatoes even, or you can buy like a lot of cow's milk products. That is a huge problem, you know, but you can buy a lot of things in the food shop, and it's very like the actual product itself, it doesn't cost so much to produce every single time. Like a tomato, that it's not maybe so much value in one tomato at the first stage, but then as they can put some other form of value to the tomato, such as producing it in mashed format, putting it into a can or whatever, it adding up the price to the consumer, making it more expensive. And also same thing with like cereals and stuff. That is a really easy way of adding value to a very bland and like cheap type of product, you know, and selling it and making it more like higher priced. And people, it end up, I mean, it's like you're spending a lot of money on food that is not really having any value. And also a lot of the processed foods and stuff, you know, they have a lot of like sugars, salt, fats, stuff that is not good, but is something that will keep you like attracted to the food, you know, because your brain is processing it as something that it will demand, and then you end up eating stuff that is just going not be helpful for your health, you know, in the long run. Anyway, if you're interested in this topic, definitely check out this book. It has a lot of like information about this. I mean, I know a lot about this, and I mean, I'm like I call myself a vegan. People have different concepts about what a vegan means. I was actually talking with some relatives, and they thought that a vegan is an animal activist who is trying to protect animals. I don't say I'm protecting animals by being vegan, but surely I'm not eating animals and not products from animals necessarily, except from bees, such as honey. I do eat that, but not by intention consuming like meats or milk from animals. And also another thing I think this book will mention is the hormone contents that is in milk from animals. Like you're putting, I mean, you can just imagine all types of hormones that an animal have to sort of function with certain body functions. All of those hormones typically goes into that milk that people are consuming if it comes from an animal, and it's not really great. I would that's just you know, like a logical type of assumption, like that it's not so good to have all of those hormones inside of your body if you're not an animal, or if you're not a cow or a calf or whatever, you know. I mean, you probably are aware what you are if you're a human. I mean, so it's just like to put all of that stuff into the body, it's not really great at the end of the day. Even if certain food like pyramids and stuff have these eat lean meat or eat meat and stuff, I mean, there's so much like, yes, the reason to why a lot of things are in these pyramids is also because, you know, it earns money for those who are producing these type of things. So it make money, more money, people consume more meat and stuff because people think they need it, and yeah, it keeps the industry of that specific product like growing and keep it strong and flourishing, and at the same time degrading the whole health and, like, you know, the body functions and diseases, and you know, there's a lot of things happening in the human body when you're consuming certain things. If you're interested, check out that book. Another book that I have that I also will be reading is this one is very like famous, you know. It's called Orientalism by Edward Said, and this one was kind of, you know, it made like a mark in the history when it concerning like post-colonialism and colonialism and all these things, because I mean, science, the problem with science is that it's not neutral, you know, it's not neutral. You can actually, and this book, by the way, if I refer back to this food politics, they will show some examples of scientific research articles, like the conclusions in those, and how they are, you know, sort of advocating certain stances and positions and stuff. And it's the same thing with other parts of science, you know, such as Orientalism, that, you know, it sort of is supporting some interests that are connected to politics and all these type of other, you know, other sort of society aims or whatever, but it's not just neutral, you know, there is some deeper type of aims and incentives behind it, and Edward's side is sort of just presenting it the way it is, that this Orientalism is not really something that is really neutral science. It is more like, you know, using different people to sort of frame the reality in a different light and sort of highlight different things in certain, you know, that support certain political interests and stuff. So very good book. I think I've read part of this one some time before, but I'm going to go over it again because I really like how he is also writing, his way of like writing and stuff, and it's a very like well-known book, and yeah, it's a very good book just to read if you haven't checked it out. Another book that is also kind of relevant, even if it's a historical sort of book. It's called The Ornament of the World. It has a nice kind of front page. This one looks like a vacational book, you know, something that you read when you're on vacation, but it is very like relevant. This one is by, let me see who is the author of this one. Maria Rosa Menocal. I don't know if that's how you say it, but it is The Ornament of the World, How Muslim, Jewish and Christians Created a Culture of Tolerance in Medieval Spain, in Andalusia. And this one is very like, it's very, by the way, the author, she's residing in New York City, so she has a little bit multicultural environment where she's living in. And she has, let me see here, yeah, she's a professor of Spanish and Portuguese at Yale University. So this book I haven't seen before, but I found it, so I thought why not read it, because I'm kind of interested in Andalusia. I think it's an interesting thing to read about, like the culture that was there and just how it functioned, because back in the days, south of Spain, Andalusia was ruled by Arabs, and it was like a Muslim little, you know, it had Muslim influences, but it was also a place where other religions were like, you know, functioning in the same time. There was Christians, there was Jewish people, there was all types of things going on, but it was a very like good mix, and everything seemed to function for a while. So yeah, it's just like, because today we have so many categories and so many classification systems, so we setting us up for problems, you know, in the society when we have these classification systems, because, you know, you don't view people as people, you view them as some category, you know, and then you adding more like labels and stuff into that specific category, you know. Even with religions you're doing the same, you know. So, but this one is just interesting because I just want to read a little bit about the culture, as I said, in medieval Spain, and you know, literature, science and arts and stuff, and also the fact that some of these things have influenced, you know, later generations in different parts of the world and all these things. Europe, I mean, there's you can still have some, you know, aspects such as like science and stuff. I mean, the idea of science itself, it has sort of, you know, passed on here. And so yeah, it's just an interesting book. I actually would recommend this one as well, because the text in this book is very easy to read. And if you're interested in, you know, if you're going for a vacation in Spain, definitely pick up this book and read it, because it's like, if you want to know a little bit about the background of Spain's history, a little bit back in the days, this one is quite good. And also the fact that there are some monuments in south of Spain, in Andalusia, close to Marbella, and like in the, I think it's on the let me see, west coast of Spain, and a little bit up in, I don't know if it's called Cordoba or something. They have some monuments there that was sort of constructed in this specific time frame of history. So it's just interesting, you know, because I went to Spain one time and didn't know so much about history, but this one will, you know, sort of highlight a little bit about that. And then I just want to show, because I put some, what are they called? Peas, yellow peas, to actually sprout and grow in soil, proper soil, because these will end up being like these pea sprouts within approximately 2 weeks. And they actually been growing a lot. I was away for the past few days, but when I came back they were like really growing, and I was amazed, you know, because I thought that I don't give them water, so I will see if they will just dry up. And but they really have set off growing. And also when you're buying, if you're going to sprout anything and you're buying the seeds or peas or whatever in a food shop like supermarkets, sometimes those that you buy is not going to sprout, because they have been processed by the producer of those in such way that they are not meant to be able to grow again. But these, they seem to be growing, so that means they have not been processed by that. And very excited to see how long it's gonna take for them to grow. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. But these are definitely 3 very interesting books, and good for the late summer, I would say. So yeah.